Hey, it's Adam Tracy, and let's talk about why we don't need Swift anymore. So, in a theoretical transaction, I want to send money to a friend in the EU, and I go to my bank, I initiate the transaction. The bank sends a Swift message. Swift is just like a messaging code, and one or more intermediary or correspondent banks settle the transaction using pre-funded accounts, and everybody's happy. But the problem is, it's expensive, it's time consuming, it can take 1 to 3 days, and that is in part because it's not always open, right? You talk about wire cutoffs. That's that. You have FX spread leakage, right? Because it's taking so long, but the currency exchange rate is constantly changing, and that could hurt you, could hurt the bank, and it's just silly. Well, stablecoins supplant the need for all of this, and the reason being that there's no intermediaries. It's wallet to wallet, and yes, if you had some kind of custodial wallet at a bank or even like crypto, fine. There's some fees involved, but at the end of the day, you don't need this messaging system called Swift. You could put safeguards in place for test transactions, stuff like that, which exists, but you don't need this. And you certainly don't need a slew of intermediary and correspondent banks to settle out of pre-funded accounts. This is like an atomic settlement. You have party A wanting to send 100,000 USDC, and you have party B willing to accept it. If there's not this meeting of the minds, it blows up and it doesn't happen. So the counterparty risk goes away, as does all the intermediary nonsense. And from a stablecoin perspective, the FX spread risk goes away as well, because you can counterbalance that with what the counterparty is receiving, whether that's in a euro stablecoin or some fraction of USDC or USDT, as the case may be. So at the end of the day, Swift, for all, let's not forget the most important part, the settlement is near instantaneous. And you have wallet to wallet. So when you think about from a compliance perspective, each intermediary and correspondent bank, which in a Swift transaction, depending on where you're sending to, there's multiple, each of them are doing their own KYC checks. Well, that's expensive for them. So get rid of that, right? Get rid of that. Fill that out the window. So all you have is wallet to wallet, near instantaneous settlement, minimal cost, and minimal burden on the respective parties in terms of compliance. So again, the problem obviously is stablecoin adoption and the conversion of stablecoin into local currency and how that works. And so in some parties, especially like developing nations, that's going to be a little more complex, right? Because not everybody accepts stablecoin for some form of payment. So it's like, sure, you receive it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you can use it. Well, as an intermediary currency alone, it still beats Swift 99 out of 100 times. There's literally no advantage to it. On the back end, yes, there has to be liquidity sources, and there are, that you can reduce the stablecoin to fiat as needed, but as adoption grows, that need goes away. And there's a cost to that, but the cost is still more minimal than when you consider what a single Swift transaction is, that conversion out, together with the transaction costs of sending the stablecoin. So at the end of the day, Swift, which is literally just a messaging system. Everybody thinks Swift is like this payment rail. It's really not. It's just this messaging system that is bank to bank and says, hey, settle this transaction out of your pre-funded account, which is locked liquidity and worthless, right? Both towards the beneficial owners of that currency and the banks themselves, because they're not doing anything with it, nor can they. And you're just wasting time with it. So at the end of the day, right, Swift should go away. There's no use for it. There's no real value. It's really a matter of stablecoin adoption and how that's perceived and how that gets done, which, as you can see, it's growing over time. But at the end of the day, if you just said, hey, we're just going to take away Swift, right? We're going to close down, as a private company can, and say, not too bad, and everybody's going to use stablecoin as an intermediary currency for cross-border transactions or just a direct transfer payment rail, you could do it and you'd save money and you'd save time and you'd avoid FX issues and all these things. So that, in my mind, is the Swift killer. Stablecoin adoption and using stablecoin at a minimum as an intermediary transfer currency for cross-border transactions. So you have a question about how you can integrate that today, which you can. Like, it's very easy to do. Or maybe you just want Swift. I could do both. Give me a call or hit my website, adam@adamtracy.io. I'll talk to you next time. Cheers.